What's the
Patrick, please lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for the moment of silence. Please be seated. Would the clerk may read the notice of meeting.
Notice is hereby given that a public meeting of the Strafford County Legislative Delegation Executive Committee is scheduled to be held Friday, November 22nd, 2024 at 9 a.m. in the Strafford County William A. Grimes Justice and Administrative Building Cafe Conference Room, lower level, 259 County Farm Road, Dover, New Hampshire. This meeting will require a physical forum and will provide remote access for the public via Zoom as noted above.
Thank you. When you're ready, you may call the roll.
Bailey,
Here.
Bigsby,
Here.
Burnham, here. Fitzpatrick,
Here.
Harrington is excused. Corrigan,
Here.
Howard,
Here.
Howland,
Here.
the clerk is here. Newton is excused. Petrie,
Here.
Hamza is excused. Southworth,
Here.
Wall.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, here. Okay, item 6 is approved minutes of the executive committee meetings of September 4th, 2024. Is there a motion? Moved by Representative Holland, second by Representative Howard.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried to-
Representative
I tried to open the minutes and I could not open them for some reason. I tried to save it. I tried to get a hold of,
Okay, well, let's ask about that, Janet, you know.
I don't understand why it couldn't open. I'm wrong.
well, I got Word and I believe you use Word, right?
Yep.
So for some reason it wouldn't.
They are also in front of you, I will provide a printed copy, but they could have also been sent to me with the end of October, beginning of November before I went out.
Well, I'm just bringing it up.
Well, thank you.
Okay, very good.
I
Thank you.
can send you another copy of the email with that.
Why, I have a minute.
Yeah. See if you wanted to do that.
Thank
Yeah, maybe because I resent it this last time, and I thought maybe it couldn't. Although some people did agree them because they got them out, so. All right,
Is anyone else having that problem?
I just checked and it shows an operation issue, so,
Are these the edited minutes?
yeah, the most recent. So you're referring to?
Yeah.
Yeah, it says operation couldn't be completed.
Yeah, that's the issue I had.
So it's like blank.
Okay, well, let's look at that, see if anyone can remedy that, Representative Petrie. So are there other, remarks, recommendations, corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That's unanimous, thank you. So let's, recognize a commission at the moment to hear something with regard to adjusting the budget. You gonna speak to that?
I'm not gonna have ways to speak.
Okay.
So we need to make an adjustment to the budget, to the revenue and expenses. It won't have any tax impact.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
These are the two items that were already, one item that was approved, one item that we now have official word is approved. So we would need to add the $715,000 to the bottom line of the budget and the revenue. That was for the COPS grant for the distribution of the radio money to the cities and towns. And the other is the $1.4 million for the roof that we now have received. Official word has been approved.
Okay, good. Well,
We received that word on Friday. I mean, we knew it in the sense that it was passed by governor and council on the 30th. I was calling and making sure that it was passed, but, so they would change it would bring the total bottom line of expenditures to 87,405,856. I'll leave this with the clerk. And it would leave the amount to be raised by taxes at 40,298,420.
Right.
And it would bring the revenue up to 47,107,436.
Right.
So I'll leave these numbers with the clerk.
Thank you very much. Is there comment from anyone or questions? I was there at the joint fiscal morning that, Governor and joint fiscal, approved that, but now we've got official notification that it is, we don't have it yet in hand, but we are aware of this, been approved, and so that, yeah.
I'd just like to comment that sort of my appreciation for Representative Potenza and the executive counselor and anyone else who was involved in lobbying to get that, 1.4 million for the loop. I think that was a very, you know, it was a great service for the county to do that, and I'd just like to recognize that.
We're informally express our appreciation to the town of Londonderry. I think that we're supposed to get the $15 million, but they declined. So that money became available, and as you stated, Representative Potenza went after that. Representative Petrie.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to add to that. James Gray had a big, hand in that. He called me, and I guess him and, Executive Councilor Kenny got together, and that's where the chain came, and Mr. Bauer was very efficient in, writing the letter to ask for the additional funds. So and that was, did that within a couple hours?
Yeah.
So that's kudos to.
Well, thank you for it, because I hadn't heard the exact chain of events.
Well, that's what happened.
Yeah, yeah. Right.
Yeah,
Well,
Senator Gray reached out to me and, we had the letter, Diane and I had the letter together within a couple hours.
I was sitting there listening, and the governor was ticking off, so X number of dollars are gonna go to this community for this thing and so forth. I'm listening, and the very last item was $1.4 million for, but it's like whether you get on the bus first or last, as long as you get on, you get the same ride. So, we're very grateful to all of the people who reached out and effectuated that, because we need the money, that's for sure. Very good. Let's switch it around, so we just. Very good, so, further comment with regard to this item, or this notification? Do we have to have do we have a roll call on it as well to approve it?
Well, if there's I think if it's a unanimous vote, you won't need a roll call, but if it's,
Well,
do a roll call.
let's make sure that we're doing everything right, so make all the roll. We need, I guess, we need a motion to approve. So we moved by Representative Bixby, seconded by Representative Howard. Okay, so let me call a roll.
Bailey,
Aye.
Bixby,
Yes.
Burnham,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Corrigan,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Howland,
Yes.
which votes yes. Petrie,
Yes.
Southworth,
Yes.
Wall,
I wasn't here until I voted on
You were here when the motion was made.
it.
and Schmidt.
Yes. Okay, item 7, approve tax anticipation note borrowing of up to the amount of 24 million for the first 6 months of 2025. Is the treasurer here? Any comments there, Ray?
No, but there's something that needs to be read by the deputy, and the deputy treasurer will read it to you.
Okay.
You know where it is, Janet? I can go get it.
It's
Okay.
right on my desk, it's that letter that I just read.
You wanna postpone that?
Oh, yeah.
Go on to the.
We'll just move on for the moment. Proceed to item 8, motion to allow the county commissioners to pay those county expenditures statutorily required to be paid until delegation approval of the 2025 budget.
Ooh,
Yes, Representative Wall,
I move that.
you're
we-
moving that. Okay, is there a second for that?
I'll second.
Representative Southworth. Okay, is there discussion?
Normal process, it just allows us.
It is the normal.
It allows us to continue to operate until a budget's passed.
Standard procedure, okay, so do we need a roll call on that?
No,
Okay. So, oh, yeah, so I see nothing. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That's unanimous. Item 8, review and approve third quarter 2024 budget report. So,
said, expenses are within line, revenue short. We hope to make up some of the revenue in the last quarter, but we will probably end the year, short on revenue, primarily in the PSP money that is, allocated in a state, federal and county, cooperative effort.
okay, and you have a guesstimate, estimate?
I don't at this point because we're still seeking, some reconciliation.
Can you break out that acronym?
Sure, PSP is proportionate share pool money. It's a federal drawdown. Hate to use the word scheme, but what it does is it compensates us for taking 99% Medicaid people. Because as you know, Medicaid doesn't pay the full freight. And then the state goes in and drops what would be a reasonable Medicaid rate, 30%, because that's what's in the budget. And they call that budget neutrality factor. And this is a process that allows the state to compare our Medicaid rate with the Medicare rate and give us half the difference. So it makes up for some of the 30% shortfall that the state creates as a result of not appropriating adequate funds to the Medicaid line item.
And how will we handle shortfalls?
Well, I've already begun, not filling some open positions, although we have some of the opposite problems in some cases. We can't fill jobs at the jail. We have mandatory forced overtime for
About 7 months now.
and, you know, we're still short employees at Riverside, although we're in a little better shape than the jail. So there is some I'm trying to find the best and most eloquent way to put it. There's some, I've rearranged some non-direct care positions, so that when they became vacant, I didn't fill them. So we're trying to make up some of the money in that respect.
Okay,
Also, we've held off on some of the budgeted capital items. I'm not talking about the bond that was passed. I'm talking about some of the capital items that were approved in this year's budget. That came out of, fund balance. We're holding off on some of those purchases.
mhm. So, Superintendent, how is your staff handling, forced overtime and so forth? And what does that entail?
So, my staff is handling it exceptionally well, which is to say that they answer the call that we make of them, on a daily basis. Do they enjoy it? No. Do I enjoy mandating them? Absolutely not. The staff have been working, my non-union staff, which are myself and all of my supervisory staff, program staff, I've mandated them to work at least 8 hours of overtime, including myself, because I'm not just gonna mandate people to work extra time and not do it myself.
Yes.
But they're tired and they don't have the opportunity to make plans so that they can so that they can, go home and see a baseball game or a soccer game or something like that. Because we are a 24-hour operation and I have a minimum amount of staff. I have worked with my staff, I've worked with the commissioners and Administrator Bauer to, not fill positions that have been vacated, and figuring out a way to not fill those positions. I have, worked in ways, we shut down a medical department so that we don't have those medical inmates, and that saves us 21 shifts of overtime, but they're tired and, they are not happy with having to work. We are making every effort that we can to be attractive to the outside, individual that's coming in. We went to, the Deerfield Fair. We got a booth there. We had an opportunity to see people as they were coming through. And the package, the benefits that we offer here are exceptional. Like they are really good benefits. It's the starting pay. Starting pay is what is a deterrent. And so we're actively working on that to see if we can be creative in ways that we can make it so that they still have an attractive benefits package, but it makes our starting wage look more attractive. We did have success going to Deerfield Fair. We found people that wanted to come in. But I've said this before to this same group, nobody grows up saying, I want to be a corrections officer. It takes a very special individual to work inside that, in that building. And my staff have done a fantastic job in doing that, but they're tired and they want to have some time off, and I want to give them time off. And that's how we're managing.
So how does it actually work? They're working, what, a couple of extra hours every night, for example? Or are they working a full shift extra?
It's typically either an additional 4 hours after their shift or before their shift, or a total of 8 hours after their shift or before their shift. And so it really depends on how time is allocated. People earn the ability to take time off, and I don't deny that. However, I only allow one person to take time off on a shift unless there are very extreme circumstances. Somebody's on vacation down in Florida, and then somebody has a medical appointment that they need to go to. Yeah, I'm gonna grant that time off. But it's usually 4 to 8 hours of additional time that they have to work on a specific day. And sometimes it could be 2 or 3 days a week. If we as a facility, as a county, do not want anybody to work more than 24 hours of overtime, a total of 64 hours in a work week. However, there are some people who could be subject to working overtime 5 days a week because of the way in which their work week falls, their days off fall, and if they get ordered for 4 hours. So I've had individuals that have come in and talked about this exact thing with the Board of County Commissioners, saying they got hit 4 out of the 5 days that they're assigned. Now, in 2015, we did a days off, hands off rule, so that when you had your days off, you weren't subject to being ordered. And that allows for you to be able to make plans on your weekend, and it doesn't screw up the plans on your weekend. However,
But very few people have weekends off.
that's correct. So what it is that they have, when I say they have their weekends off, it's their weekend is defined as the 2 days off that they have together. Sometimes it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Very rare is it that somebody actually has Saturday and Sunday off. And everybody knows that in law enforcement. You're not gonna get that. There's a very low likelihood that you're gonna get that in law enforcement. So they don't have to worry about getting hit on their weekend unless, and there's a provision in this, we need to order somebody because we're a 24-hour operation. We have minimum staffing numbers that we need to have there. And there are times in which we have people and we'll say, I'm sorry, I gotta order you on your Friday night, for example, because once you end your Friday shift, you're off until your Monday morning beginning shift. And that's defined by the gap in your days off, so.
Question, Representative Holmes.
So where are you in the contract for your union employees? I mean, are you at the end, the middle, where
We're
exactly?
negotiating right now.
Okay.
Yep, we have had union negotiations thus far.
Representative Burnham.
Thank you. Are you seeing this similar issue across other county corrections facilities?
Almost all, our neighboring county, Rockingham County, is not seeing this. And they just, over the past about year and a half, raised their starting wage, to be similar to that of a deputy. And I think that they are down one position. And I'm down about 24 positions.
And, what is that starting rate
2193.
here? And then what is Rockingham offering?
They're at about $27. And so, and to be completely transparent, 2193, excuse me, I think 2193 is what you would get if you worked first shift. There's absolutely no way you're gonna come in off the street and you're gonna work first shift. So you're gonna have a shift differential, you're gonna have weekend differentials, so the cost does in fact go up. And I do, again, to be transparent, want you to know that our insurance package is less expensive on this day today than it is in Rockingham County. However, in negotiations, without getting into specifics, we talked about the fact that, you know, that run might be coming to an end, where you have to chip in a little bit more for insurance. But again, that's a method of negotiations, and, you know, we have yet to determine how that's gonna turn out.
Chris, you might want to mention Merrimack County.
Merrimack County, they just ratified their contract, and they are going to see, I believe it was.
23% over 2 years.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yep. So, and that's just what's happening. We are negotiating with a union that has a lot of experience at the state prison, and they're drawing a lot of comparisons to the state prison. There are some proposals, and I can't talk about it because it's confidential, but some proposals are very much similar to what we've seen in the state prison. Those are some things, there are some things in there that I'm just absolutely not interested in. And I think that when it all opens up, you'll see exactly why it is that I wouldn't be interested in those. However, you know, we have seen that our neighboring counties are recognizing that $22 an hour to have somebody go in and work inside a facility. Now, I've been struck by inmates. I've had urine and feces thrown at me. That's stuff that happens inside correctional facilities. We know that when we go into it, but it's taxing. And when you see places like Target, where you can go and you can work for $19.94 and you're stocking shelves, might make a little bit more sense to not take that risk. And I think that it's important to at least acknowledge that for us to kind of get out of this, this issue where we're paying overtime, it's because we have to pay our staff.
Representative Sullivan.
Beyond the forced overtime, I assume like several other service jobs, you have people who want the overtime.
That's absolutely
They
correct.
count on it, really.
So for about 17 minutes back in 2018, we were at the perfect staffing. I was not fully staffed. And that was beneficial because we weren't paying some of the roll-ups that come with that, the insurance costs, the unemployment insurance costs, some of those things that come along with roll-ups. When people were getting overtime that they wanted, they could sign up for it. If somebody called out sick, we would make an announcement. If anybody's interested in working second shift tonight, dial 5145. That's the supervisor's extension. And that's how the overtime would be snapped up. And now there's lists in our briefing room. I'll have to sign up for that.
Representative Bader.
Would you still have these staffing issues if we were no longer the ICE center for Northern New England?
Yeah, the staffing, you know, the problem is that I've looked many times on how I might be able to shut down a housing unit. The problem with trying to shut down a housing unit is that I have a multitude of keep separates, gang issues, all of these things where I need to have different housing units for different inmates to go. Now, if I have 74 ICE detainees this morning. If I wasn't with ICE, then I would have 74 less individuals inside my facility. But I can't guarantee you that I could empty out a unit and be able to effectively house all the individuals that I empty out of a unit so that we could keep that unit shut down.
Follow. Would you still have these problems if we were getting more than $100 a night per prisoner?
Well, I think that we would certainly see a benefit in our revenue, but my staffing is not necessarily driven by how much we get paid by the federal agencies that we partner with. It's based off of the consultants that we have and the ratio of officers per inmates that we have in custody.
Well, that is to say, could you pay more to your staff if you were getting more than $100 a night?
Well, I think probably indirectly I could. I can't necessarily equate my revenue with what my expenditures are, only because in the state of New Hampshire, and please correct me if I'm wrong, all of the revenues have to go into the general fund. So I can't, I have said before, in justifications that population and revenue offsets the increased cost. However, it doesn't necessarily equate to, if I get paid more money per inmate, I can hire more staff. And I am actively working to try to get an increase for the federal partner, with our federal partners, per inmate per day. I just spoke with Diane about the slow process that I'm going through to see if I can get to a point where I can work much closer with our finance director, to do that.
Slow process isn't on our part, slow process is on the federal part. But we have been trying, for a significant increase. And to answer your question, Representative Bailey, the way I think you're asking it, the answer is absolutely yes. In that.
Is there a contract or something?
There's a contract that we've had with ICE and the marshals.
When does it elapse?
It really never elapses. What it does is it allows us to make adjustments.
Can we make an adjustment immediately?
No, we have to make an adjustment with their approval. So
we cannot make an adjustment. Can we cancel the contract?
Sure, but we'd be losing 8 million in revenue.
Yes, but we evidently would need smaller staff and we could pay the existing staff more money.
We would, but we're talking, if we paid existing staff at a similar rate to what Rockingham is paying their staff. And that, I didn't know about Merrimack till yesterday, so I compared it to Rockingham. It's probably cost about $1.6 million, but we'd be giving up $8 million to do that. So I'm not sure that's in our best interest.
I would like to see tax money as the very last alternative to these increased costs. So I would like to tax the feds and the state for this building more before you went to taxpayers.
Agreed. The Association of Counties has set up an interview with the commissioner, whoever is in charge of the AOC. I have a meeting with them today at 2:00. So that's gonna be one of the things that we discuss, certainly. But I hope you saw the revenue that we do acquire from the rent in this building. We send it to the entire delegation. Is that correct, Janet?
Mm-hmm.
Diane was kind enough to, and actually we included in that expense things that weren't our expense. We included the entire roof project, in that expense, when actually most of the roof project was funded through ARPA funds. But we included it all and we still made hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in revenue above expenses. But that doesn't mean we can't shoot for more. And that's all the counties, all 10 counties are gonna be on a Zoom call this afternoon. And it won't just benefit the counties, because a lot of municipalities rent space to the courts also. So we're teaming up with the municipal association.
Every time,
Yeah, just in terms of the process of, the control of salary, basically, Mr. Brackett doesn't have direct control over salaries. He has to request it of us, essentially of the commissioners and then of us, to approve that, once it's gone through the union process.
That's
the
correct.
Union negotiations. So at the end of the line, we are the ones who are going to be approving any sort of salary increase. And likewise, in terms of disbursement of any funds that come from the federal government for ICE, as payment for ICE residents, that is also something that, we're in charge of. But I also agree that anything we can do to get the federal government to pay more per inmate, because we definitely are seeing higher costs, that we should do that.
And that's absolutely our plan.
Go ahead, Representative.
I've been here 4 years and they've been paying $100 a night for 4 years. And people that preceded me, I asked them and they say, oh no, they've been saying that for years. It's time to raise the rent.
Where part of the problem is, until recently, we haven't had the cost to justify it. We have to submit documents. It's not like we send them a letter saying, hey, we need more money. We have to be able to justify the increase in the rate. The $100 rate is actually more when we got it and continues until recently to be in excess of what our cost per day is for housing an inmate. And they gave us that extra because we go through the work of being the final stop. The transport bus doesn't go any further than Strafford County. And ICE doesn't go any further than Strafford County. And then they ship out south of us, either Boston or they want to come back to Pease, to ship out. So because we go through that extra work of discharging the inmate, which might seem simple, hi, see you later, have a nice day. It's not. You're responsible for their funds, you're responsible for medication, you're responsible for health records, you're responsible for a variety of things that need to accompany the inmate for wherever they're going next. So because of that, they were willing to give us some extra money. So when we got the 100.
Oh, how nice of them.
Well,
Before you go for taxes, we need to raise the rent.
I hear you loud and clear,
It's
Representative.
not an option.
I hear you loud and clear.
Representative Nick, you're on at the moment.
Yeah, so, since we are doing more for them than the sort of bottom line expenses in terms of, basically the cost of keeping them in place, since we are doing that extra, I mean, yes, it's good that we get paid for doing that extra, but that extra costs us time and money, which is money. So that extra is not, that's not free.
Maybe I'm saying it wrong, Representative Bixby. That extra is included in the initial costs, but we're getting it then again on top of that. So, it's not like it's just a different allocation of their time, but it's included in the original cost. So when our finance director, when Diane sends our costs out, it includes the cost for these people's salaries. It's just a different allocation of their time for the other things that we do. So we are getting compensation for that extra amount.
Right. But at the same time, are we getting compensation for having to pay overtime for our staff because our salaries are too low?
So we have gone back, and on the transportation side, we have renegotiated the contract to reflect that if it's a transportation that happens on the weekend, it reflects what we compensate for the individual. So we have done that. And in 2021, that's when we asked for our most recent rate increase, and we went from $83 to $100. The other thing that's important to just factor in as part of a decision is that in the event that there is a government shutdown, all of these agencies that are essential for working are going to say, where's the least expensive place you can house people? And so we want to make sure that we don't ask for such an exorbitant price that they say, we want to keep your contract, but we're not keeping you there now. So we have to make sure that it's kind of measured progress. And that's another thing that we take a look at, so that in the event that there is something like that could happen, or that could be threatened to be happen, we want to make sure that we're the ones that they want to keep. Now, I can tell you, we are the ones that everybody wants to keep their inmates with because of the healthcare we provide, because of the way in which we offer programs, because of the accessibility that legal representation has to them while they're in custody with us. We want to make sure that we're checking off all of the boxes that make it attractive to those individuals that want to spend $8 million to house people.
And those are the things that we're inspected for when they inspect us 10 times a year or more. We're the most inspected entity in the state of New Hampshire. We're inspected more than any nursing home. We're inspected more than anything at the House of Correction. They inspect our medical department monthly. This is part, and that's mostly immigration. That's, just part of why a lot of other places don't want to do business with them.
Just, can we get somebody to ask people out there?
We can just close that door.
Well, we can't close the door. Public meeting. Thank you. So, yes, one more. Got a question, too?
There are other facilities that house ICE inmates.
Not really. If they house them, it's very temporary.
Right, but we're not the only place in on the East Coast that.
No, you're absolutely right.
So how do our rates compare to the other facilities that house ICE?
We don't. Do you know exactly, Chris? No, we don't.
Asked that question. I haven't got a specific number. And part of that has been like Plymouth, for example. Plymouth houses people and Wyatt houses people in this area. They're also going through contract renegotiation. So what we're trying to do is not different than anybody else, but during the contract negotiations, they're not saying anything. I can tell you that it's $110 at Merrimack County. That's what the US Marshals pay. We're $100 here.
It's 104 in Cheshire.
Yep. So we're within the ballpark, but again, we're also the one that if the government shuts down, they're like, send them to Strafford. Now, I think that we will also be a trendsetter for those agencies, because I've talked to both Superintendent Yazway, Superintendent Cushman in their respective counties, and they're in discussions to start this process as well. So everybody's thinking the same exact thing that we're thinking now. We just have initiated a little bit beforehand.
Okay, so we got Representative Oregon is next, Representative Petrie is next, Representative Southwood, Representative Brigham,
And she was before
I'm
me.
shutting up the whole time. What's that?
She was before me.
Okay, well, I get Representative Oregon, you're next.
Stepping back a little bit, like, I think all of us, the people who are reps, two exceptions are coming back, and one of them is not coming back because he's been promoted to county commissioner, but, and this is the last day of our filing windows. We have 6 hours to file, so we're considering like whether to file bills or approve bills. What I'm hearing is the correction system, both at the county and state level, is maxed out, and even if we get more revenue, there's other issues, so we should probably be cautious about anything that requires more people being incarcerated, whether they're citizens or.
Well, I can't speak directly to that.
Yeah.
But one thing I can say is that as of every Monday, I get a report for how many people we monitor in the community. Now, these are only Strafford County people.
Right.
We're monitoring 543 people in the community through some mechanism or not. Now, that might be an ankle bracelet, or something as simple as calling us. You know, calling us weekly, telling us how things are going, and that you remember your court date and that, so something that minor, or something, again, as intrusive as an ankle bracelet with monitoring for alcohol consumption and bringing them in for drug testing. Now, that's not our decision, that's ordered by the judge. It might be our recommendation, but it's the judge's decision. So, you know, that's one of the ways in which we control our own inmate population is, we have, I'm doing the math quickly in my head, about 6 times as many people that we're monitoring in the community as our own inmates in the House of Correction.
Okay, so Representative Burnham.
Yes, thank you. What's the average cost per inmate per day?
I can look at that.
We'll go get it and give it to you. We actually do that.
Well, if I may.
Go ahead, Representative.
Would it be possible to get an in-house performance audit of the correction system so we got a better handle of what's going on? I think.
Yeah, I guess I need to understand what that means.
Well, all the facts of how much it cost, ICE inmates, you know, the whole spiel of what he has to go through. So we can figure what it's gonna cost us.
Well, you'll be right in that position coming in the.
Well, I understand that, but you know, as one of the delegates here, you know, we need to.
Let me just say something to you. If Trump does what he is proposing, you're gonna see a demand for our facility. It's as simple as that. When that demand occurs, the rate will be adjusted as a result of that demand. Right now, there are 1.4 million immigrants that they are, I don't use the targeting, but that's the first priority of the Trump administration to have deported. When that occurs, these facilities don't grow on trees, okay? They don't exist. There's only a hand, there's probably 3 or 4 in New England. And there's 1.4 million nationally. That's the first group they're going at. So when that occurs, there's gonna be a demand for what we have. The second point I wanna make to you is that as a result of that contract that we put together almost 20 years ago, or 18 years ago, we have taken in $90 million worth of revenue. In that jail that cost us about $25 million. So that arrangement we've had with the federal government has been a sound financial one. When I'm gonna take the president at his word that he's going to do what he says he's going to do. He says it all the time. I'm taking it as him as his word. All his appointees have been talking. All you gotta do is pick up CNN, watch what's going on C-SPAN, the things that they're going after. When that occurs, the demand for our space is gonna go through the roof. And as a result of that, we will be able to pay our staff more money. That's what I'm looking to do myself for Strafford County long-term. And I'm hopeful to reflect that in next year's budget. And we're having the discussion regarding the cost of housing our inmates started 6 months ago, 8 months ago. We've been always trying to work our federal partners for more money. This is not something that just happened yesterday. This has been going on for months and months and months. And so.
And we do have the support of Sheriff Hart or Marshall Hart, I'm sorry, for however long he's going to be there. We do have the support of Marshall Hart, although he doesn't have the authority to make those decisions. He's the U.S. Marshal for state of New Hampshire. But we presume that his recommendations will go a long way.
Right, so you've got U.S. Marshals and then you've got ICE. They're two different components. They have 2 separate bureaucracies. Those are 2 separate negotiations that take place. Okay, so I wouldn't be a sounding the alarm. We're in the middle of negotiation right now with the employees. I wanna pay the employees more money. The existing Board of County Commissioners wanna pay them more money. What we're trying to do is balance that need with our revenue sources and our revenue stream. Okay, that potentially we're going to see. Because I take the president-elect at his word. I think he's gonna do this. And I think we're gonna be in a unique position to, for lack of a better term, take advantage of that. And that will help ease the tension that we're all feeling. We're all gonna feel as a result of the sugar high we've been on in the last 3-4 years, as a result of the ARPA funds, and as a result of the CARES Act. This money's running out. It's running out in every government. Ray and I spoke to the Durham Town Council, Monday night. Durham's cost for their health insurance has gone up 10% for their employees. Their value of the town has not gone up a whole heck of a lot. They've actually been living off the value of other communities that are increased, like Dover, for example. So as we work through the process, we've got a process here. I'm not gonna throw the baby out with the bathwater. We're gonna sit here, we're gonna methodically figure out to keep us competitive and hopefully take advantage of what the new president of the 47 is saying he's going to do. And that's that. And there's gonna be revenue adjustment as a result of that. There's gonna be transportation adjustments as a result of that, because they're gonna move people. And you've got about 1.4 million people here nationally. That's a lot of people. That's the first wave. Think about the second and third wave. We're gonna be uniquely positioned, and that's how we're gonna pay our staff, at least from my perspective. And it won't have an impact on property taxes if we do it right. It's the simple as that.
So Peter and I think Representative South.
Thank you. Now more things came up, but I'm assuming the process will be, you'll do the initial negotiations, which certainly will affect the base rate. But then, as things change, both sides may have to agree to renegotiate. Because if you do a 3-year contract or whatever, something's gonna change in 6 months.
Our contract language allows for us
Yeah.
to open that up at any time.
Right, and then the step after that will be the commissioners and coming back the delegation.
That's
We would have
That's
to
correct.
approve those shifts as well.
That's right.
So it really will keep us in the loop, because we'll have to approve any of those changes and understand them.
Yep.
So to me, it makes sense.
Okay, Representative.
Yeah, so, I think that I appreciate, Commissioner McGlaris's, pointing out how they have been managing this so far and how they plan to go forward with it. I think that it would be very good, in terms of keeping the delegation, understanding how things work, to actually have the numbers that, Representative Petrie was requesting.
Sure.
Well, that's one of the reasons why the executive committee is such an important part in all of this. That's the reason that I always want to have these, conferences, if you will, of our staff and of our leadership, so that we can try to stay on top of these. Maybe make suggestions would be helpful, but certainly when we vote yay or nay on this or that we're doing on the basis of information that I had no idea what's going on, but I voted yes. Well, we don't want that. So, you got, and one of the problems that started this discussion was the fact they can't find people to work.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's not just us. I mean,
Yeah, everybody.
it's state prison, it's
State
other
police.
counties, it's state police, it's local police departments,
Bus drivers
it's every.
It's not just us.
now.
We need more immigrants.
I made a few of the copies.
Wants to go to work.
So, Representative Byrne, did you get your questions? You got something?
Yes, I
further?
just want to make a comment, if you
Please,
don't
please.
mind. I do appreciate having that transparency, because it helps us to better understand, even if seems a little more detailed part, but it helps us understand where those needs are and how we can maybe assist you in other areas to help in your area, right? So, thank you. I appreciate that.
Right, so, Representative Southwood, are you done?
Yes.
Okay, anybody else with further comments or questions at this point? Okay, so, we are dealing with item The review and approve of the third quarter budget report. Do we have anything further on that at this point?
No, we'll just answer any questions. If you have any questions, we'll just answer them.
Right, well, I'm saying, so that's what we're dealing with, and are there further questions? Yeah, Representative.
Just to double check one that I already sent to Administrator Bauer. Do you want to again, remind us how the offset funds fit into all of this?
I'm sorry, I remember your questions, but I don't recall.
It's because it was kind of a new term and we had a lot of questions before about the line that says offset.
Oh,
You know, at the bottom of the revenue, there's.
it's the bottom of the revenue, and what that is taking money from our fund balance.
Yeah.
And using that. Now, we haven't spent all of the money that was. There's two reasons why we haven't spent all the money that was appropriated in last year's budget to be taken out of fund balance. First reason is we lacked a certain level of confidence that the delegation was going to approve the bond that you approved in last month. And because we didn't know whether you were going to the delegation as a whole was going to approve that or not, we needed to pay the roof vendor one way or the other. So we decided not to spend the money until because we would have needed it. We can't stop the roof project.
Right.
So we didn't spend the money and we won't have spent all of the money. So that'll go towards offsetting some of the revenue loss, as well as, it's kind of ironic to say, but Superintendent Brackett lost one person per shift, as well as
Administrative help.
administrative help. Riverside's lost 5 positions. And we've not direct care positions at Riverside. But so now I have people going from place to place. I have people that are working at the jail coming to Riverside to do some of the billing because this person knows how to do that billing. And I've eliminated a billing position. So, I mean, those kinds of things, as they became open, we don't have an assistant in housekeeping and laundry anymore. When she retired in June, I didn't fill the position. So, and those are just a couple of examples.
So basically it's offsetting unexpected things or changes or whatever. No, I mean, it makes sense. It sounds important, but just the word offset really doesn't tell us all that.
Yeah, and so we haven't, as you can see from the revenue page, we haven't drawn down on that revenue because we're short revenue this year and we're gonna need some of that fund balance.
So you use it conservatively, looking at the big picture.
I had to, or else we wouldn't have been able to pay the roof people.
Thank you.
Speaks to the fluidity of the budget.
Yeah.
Well, I hope those of you that are coming back are going to be willing to serve on the executive committee because these are issues where some kind of feel for what you're doing. Like
Also,
when you're
I
driving down
need.
the road, you know how to put the foot on the gas or the foot on the brakes.
I do need to say, though, that a lot of these things that you mentioned are discussed with the smaller committee, like with the Criminal Justice Committee. Here's a lot of these details. Yes, they're perhaps not shared. Riverside Subcommittee hears hours worth of details and gets a whole book of backup information to the details that go into it. So while it might seem like, there's things that go on that this committee or the full delegation doesn't know, pieces of the delegation know that. That's the system that's been established in Strafford County. I don't know how many, more than the 40 years I've been here. 38 years that I've been here. There was a decision by the delegation to split into small groups to hear detailed information. So that information is shared. It might not be shared with everyone because it's shared within that group.
Well, that's why we.
And I think, you know, I know the larger counties, certainly like Rockingham and Merrimack and Hillsborough and others have a similar system. Smaller counties, might be hearing it as in total, because their delegation's a third of the size of ours, or half the size of ours.
Oh, yeah, some of them are 10 members.
So obviously, they don't have an executive committee, they don't have subcommittees, you know, because they hear it all as an entire group, and they hear it,
Think of the citizens of Cheshire.
well, they hear,
Colas County.
well, they hear it for days and days and days and days and days. Cause it just goes on and
Citizens of that
on.
county are covering all the costs, not the same volume, of course, that we have, but anyway, so we're pretty blessed in terms of personnel.
I don't know about that, but that's, I guess, your decisions to make, so.
Okay, so are there further questions or comments with regard to item 9?
Would you like a motion?
Seeing none, a motion?
I make a motion to approve the third quarter 2024 budget report.
Second by Representative Wall. Further discussion? Seeing none, I think we need a roll call on this, or not?
No,
Not, okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that's unanimous, thank you. Now, coming back to the question where Diane went upstairs because Janet didn't have.
no, Diane, she's got it now.
Right, right, Okay.
Your chairman, Schmidt, and executive committee members.
can you speak up a little bit? I know.
This is to advise you, as chairman of the Strafford County Delegation and the executive committee, that the funds in the county treasury will be insufficient to meet expenses for the first 6 months of the year 2025. Therefore, I am recommending to the Strafford County Executive Committee that the county borrow in anticipation of taxes an amount up to but not exceeding $24 million for the year 2025. To be borrowed in early January and to be repaid by December 31st, 2025, after the county receives tax payments. Once the budget for 2025 is complete, another round of tax anticipation notes will be necessary to pay for expenses in the second half of 2025. This amount is an estimate of funds required to meet the county's cash flow projections for the first 6 months of 2025. Due to federal laws on borrowing, the county may not borrow more funds than needed for any 6-month period of time. Hence, we must borrow in anticipation of taxes twice in 2025.
Okay, and the treasurer has worked through all this.
She has reviewed everything and was unable to attend today, so I am deputy treasurer and she authorized me to step in her place.
Thank you. So is there a motion on item 7?
I'll move it.
Okay, Representative Patrick moves, Representative Howard seconds. Discussion. Good to go? Yeah, this we need a roll call.
Yes, sir.
Right? Okay, so call the roll, please.
Bailey,
Aye.
Bigsby,
Yes.
Burnham,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Corrigan,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Howland,
Yes.
Clark votes yes. Petrie,
Yes.
Southworth,
Yes.
Wall,
Yes.
and Schmidt.
Yes. So that's unanimous. Item 7. Item 10. Any other business committee legal to come before the executive committee, right?
I just wanted to mention one thing, Riverside, has been granted a 5-star rating, by, Medicare and Medicaid. There's 7, I guess arguably 8 facilities in New Hampshire, that get a 5-star rating. It's 10%, only 10% of the, facilities can get a 5-star rating. So there's 78 nursing homes in New Hampshire. And we're able to achieve a 5-star rating. Now, I just want to stress that rating is about care. That rating is not about the structure of the facility. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. So I'm proud of my employees that, work so hard, to achieve that rating.
Well, I know that we were compensating for the deficiencies, if you will, of the building with a staff that really does care and shows that. And so
Thank you.
we all recognize that they're really accomplishing small miracles.
And that's not us. I mean, that's the result of an independent audit by state surveyors whose sole job is to find deficiencies. They don't come to your facility and tell you what you've done right. They only come to your facility to tell you what you've done wrong. And all you need to do is look at CMS, the initial CMS compare. And you can punch in any facility nationwide that you choose. And you can see that statistics and those information for yourself.
Okay, so Representative Burnham.
I just want to say thank you and all the staff and individuals that are involved in that. I think that's really important that the quality is at that level. So thank you very much for all your effort.
Oh, thank you.
And I have something else that I did want to bring up. If
Go ahead.
Are you all set?
Mine is on this, but it's up to you.
Go ahead.
It's something different. And it's, I brought it as a reminder because I just wanted to bring up the copies. Although I appreciate mail copies, it's nice. I'm looking at always trying to reduce and not have additional costs. One of them is getting like that CIP book for $15 in the mail, never mind the copying. I just wanted to make a recommendation, something that we've done at the state level, which is you can opt in to receive it if you needed a hard copy prior to the meeting, or we could at least review it on our emails and save some money in that case with printing and mailing and all that. It was just one of my pet peeves. So
Nothing would make us happy. I assure you.
after that CIP book and getting like 3 copies of the budget book, I'm like, we only need one. We're all responsible adults. We should be able to have one copy, whether we get it at home to review or pick it up. But it's just one of those things. I just like,
You're right.
I don't know how much it costs, but just looking at the printing costs, I think we can save some money on that and the mailing.
You're right.
So-
Unfortunately, we're a victim. We are a victim of history. When we've had other delegations and other delegation members saying, I didn't get that. Or, I don't have easy access. I don't want to print it out. I don't have, so what we've done is every time a delegation member in the past has made a recommendation or suggested a change, we've done it. But we've never re-asked new delegations whether or not they choose to, in what manner they choose to get it. Nothing would make Janet happier than simply sending,
Well, they were
an
paying
email.
her all that time to be copying and putting it together and packaging and mailing. I'm just thinking like, that's a cost savings in itself. We could
Exactly.
Utilize her for other things, so.
Well,
What I'd like perhaps, what I'd like the returning members of this group to consider is raising that issue at your organizational meeting about how they would like to receive documents from the county. And if we have we'll send it if people want us to send it. If they're happy with getting it, we'll, via an email, we'd be even more happy to do it that way.
One of the obvious costs that is not cheap is mailing stuff. Okay, when you're
For sure.
mailing, and I think you were referencing that.
Yeah.
Mailing that. So, have we given any consideration because, all of us at one time or another go to Concord? And is there some possibility, has it been considered that we would have the stuff, somebody goes to Concord, they could bring the stuff to Concord and get it distributed that way.
We'll do it
Have you thought about that?
We'll do it any way the delegation chooses.
Okay.
We just wanna do it in a way that
I'm just
we're not in
asking
a
because it
position of
really
somebody
is.
saying,
You're-
I didn't get
When
it,
I look.
I didn't know.
I'm sure I'm not the only one that looks at the postage stamp on one of these big envelopes that we get. And then you look at something and it's 4 or 5, or sometimes it's more dollars than that just to mail it. So I'm only suggesting that
No,
a different distribution method ought to be considered anyway.
it's a great idea. Janet asks me about it every time and I say, I'm sorry, no, this is what the delegation has adopted over the years. But boy, I'd be more than happy. I'd be absolutely thrilled.
Yeah.
And Janet will remember to put it on the agenda of the organizational meeting.
So when Leo was alive, he used to go into town, every day to bring in the proceeds to the bank, right?
Yeah, we don't do that anymore.
I understand.
We
that,
scan our checks in now.
Well,
But we do go to the bank once a week with the small amount of cash that we
I'm just
bring in.
reminiscing for those of you who weren't here that he used to go in every day. So, but the thing is that I would say when Leo comes in, I tell him to stop by my house and drop it off
Yes.
rather than mailing it to me. So I'm only asking that we consider, because it's clearly on several people's minds, not just me, that we want to reduce costs that are unnecessary, including getting it on paper if we don't have to. So anyway, a whole bunch of people have been raising their hand, and I think Representative Bixby was next. And then you're next after that.
I'd like to thank Representative Burnham for bringing this issue up, and I think that the comparison of the way that we do calendars and stuff at the State House is a very good one. The default is that after the first few, you have to opt into getting it by mail, or opt into getting it by some method other than email. And I think that bringing that up to the organizational meeting would be a very good way to do that. And also, maybe if you could bring to that an indication of what it actually costs to produce and mail all that stuff, that might actually have an impact on whether people choose to opt in or not.
I also probably, with the permission of the commissioners, I'm gonna ask the county attorney to interpret the statute that says deliver to and see what deliver to means. Because that's what the statute says in regards to the budget, the January 15th date. It says deliver to the, mayors of and the selectmen and delegation. And I just want to make sure we have an understanding of what deliver to means, because there might need to be a statutory change.
Okay, so Representative Beck.
When you look into like the specifics of that, could we add it to maybe adding it to the forms that we fill out in the beginning?
Sure.
As like a box of like what you want and how it's delivered, so that way we can opt in. Working at a doctor's office, we have like opt-in for texts, emails, things like that, and maybe adding that as like a checklist of like, this is how I want to receive everything, either at the meetings, in mail, email, or pick it up myself.
Sure, we'll add in as many boxes as we can think of as our options. And I don't mean that in a sarcastic way. I meant as for options.
Yeah, just to cover ourselves, because like she said, some people just, the email is fine. Some people can stop by if they live close by here, or mailing it would be easier. Each person.
You're happy. That would make things much easier for us.
Representative Sullivan.
Thank you. I'm just back to the 5 stars briefly. I just wonder, is there a plaque or banner or something the staff can see, or maybe is there a way that really connects them to this?
I took out I personally paid for an ad in the newspaper, a fairly large ad, thanking the staff and recognition for their 5-star rating. I didn't feel it was fair for the county to pay for it. I paid for it. That's the way I wanted to do it. And that's the way my wife and I wanted to do it. They make my job easier.
Yeah. But is there something physically in the building, like in the break room, or that they can just see regularly that this is what we earned?
I have not created a plaque, but that's.
Well, it doesn't even have to be, but just something that is a reminder.
Point well taken.
Thank you.
Well, we, at the very least, we can certainly ask that you communicate to the staff.
I've done that.
On behalf of the executive committee, those of us.
No, I haven't done that.
Who know about this and deal with it on a fairly regular basis, how much we appreciate the hard work that's done by our people. And, you know, you're not there, but when the speaker, talks to the House and recognizes the work of the staff, the whole House stands up in appreciation of the work that's done by our clerk's office and our staff, because we do recognize those are the worker bees and so forth. So, is there anyone else that, I know, has some, Representative Wall?
Yeah, I just want to apologize to everyone for being late. It's neither here nor there, but I'm coming home from a big conference. But the reason I'm mentioning that is because I was late. I saw for the first time a massive rainbow right over this building.
Wow.
Had I been on time, the rainbow wouldn't have been there. So, good things are happening. Thank you.
Did you look for the pot of gold at the end of the race?
We need it.
Rearrange for that too, because
So-
you need the staff
Yeah.
to see it.
So this is the last meeting of this executive committee. So those of us who ran mostly will be back. I hope you'll be willing to serve on the next executive committee. But, you know, maybe what we're doing is not work, but we are here, and getting up on a Friday morning, you know, in time to get here and so forth, does demand a certain commitment. Boy, if you knew how hard it is for me to get me out of bed in the morning and got these ungodly hours, because I'm a night owl, so.
That's way more information than I want.
So anyway, so thank you.
And we should.
I'm not gonna describe how I get myself.
I'm done.
So anyway, thank you, from me, thank you all to the staff, I should neglect to ask the county attorney or the treasurer and so forth and so on, if there are anything, this is your opportunity to let us know about things that are on your mind that we need to know about, and if you have sheriff or whatever, please don't hesitate to raise your hand. Kathy, does she?
I will just say that, for the third quarter budget, we're up right now, revenue to the county, $111,000. We're up about 630 documents from that time last year. There's a position that I have not filled. And I have to say the staff has done an amazing job in pulling together to, you know, just do everything very seamlessly. So that's all I wanted to let you know, so.
Thank you.
I guess I'll just add at the budget meeting for this year, I have requested some increases for the attorneys. We were having a problem with attorneys leaving to go to other prosecution agencies. And over the last year, we haven't had a single prosecutor leave to go to another agency. So I'd just like to thank you all for recognizing that that was an issue and working to remedy it. I think our salaries right now are competitive with other agencies, and my staff, I should say, give them the credit of sticking around and doing a really great job. But I give you all credit for recognizing times where additional funds need to be spent, and I thank you.
That probably has something to do with their boss too.
That's good, right? No.
Excuse me,
So,
something
Sheriff?
else- sorry, there's something else I wanted to mention is that, the transfer on death deed that was passed last year, I've been working with the municipal association to do an amendment to that. So you may see that coming up. There was a problem with, that statute because there was no, notice really to the towns. There was no way for the towns to know when someone had died and that there was technically a transfer in the registry of deeds. So I've worked with the head of that association for potential amendment to that statute so that there would be a certificate of death or an affidavit of death that would have to be filed with each town and city to kind of make that go a little bit easier and to make really title more clear. As I was looking at it, it's like there's a problem with this with regard to making sure that title is clear. So when it first was passed, I called each town and city to let them know my concern. And I changed the, what we call the, we send it every day or so to the city or town, all the documents dealing with transfer of property. And I changed one of the codes to make it very clear that if it was a transfer on death, that they would at least be able to have that and be able to see it clearly and be able to put it in their files that way. But I think, you know, hopefully you'll be seeing that and that'll be an amendment to that statute, so.
So they're still into amendment.
No, I think they were still looking for a sponsor for that, so I'm not sure.
Well, today, in
So,
case you
They may have
forgot,
someone, but
filing period ends at 4 o'clock sharp
The
today.
association's probably,
I think they're on it to
I
do
think the
that, so
Association
I
of
don't wanna
Counties is
say
on
for sure who's doing that, but I think they're all set with that.
Find out.
Last
for
time I
4 o'clock
spoke, they
to
were
when the
looking for a
close.
sponsor, but.
Okay, so is there anything further under item 10?
oh, the sheriff,
Oh,
you're.
sorry, so you got something for me?
Nothing much to report other than things are going extremely well. Since we lost Major Fork to retirement, Captain Ray Potty has stepped up to an acting position, and we're working extremely well with Sheriff-elect Moon for a smooth transition. We don't anticipate any problems.
Good. Okay, so anything further?
And I'll tell you, I've had reason to contact, Captain Party a couple of times over the last few weeks, and he's been great. Very helpful, really responsive, understanding, he understands everything, you know, and these are things that he would not have otherwise been exposed to. It's always been the process where I reach out to kind of the second in command rather than bothering whoever is the sheriff. My communication was with, you know, Major Burke when he was here. And now it's Captain Party, and he's done a great job. And I really appreciate, you know, how responsive he's been and just yesterday, we had a female ICE inmate who went out to the hospital for what would have appeared to be what could have appeared to be a easily faked medical situation. And she's a convicted murderer. And you know, when you're from Brazil, murders usually happen in gangs. You know, they're gang related. So, of course, I got scared, you know, that this was a fake, you know, medical situation. And Captain Party was on it already. I mean, even before I called. And I got a call from the jail the second the inmate went out. So, he's been great. They were on it, and as it turns out, nothing happened, but if I didn't do it, something would have happened. But because I did do it, nothing happened. That's the story of my life.
Yeah, right.
Keep doing it that.
Yeah, I have the phone in my hand going, do I really need to call him? Do I really need to call him? And then thinking of the possible consequence, I decided to make the call.
So I would just note one other thing, and that is that as Commissioner McLaren knows, we don't have a brand new CEO at Wentworth Douglas, but relatively new. So I've been trying to get a hold of him because I had a good working relationship with Greg when he was the CEO. And I met the new guy, but anyway, I have managed to get a sit down with him. Very interested in working closely with us as they went with Douglas. As you know, we have a very strong relationship with them. That when they have people that they want to move out because they have cost control issues as well. And so anyway, so I arranged for him to reach out to George and has that happened yet? I know you're very busy, but I know you're working on getting together with him.
Yeah, we're working together, talking about a bunch of stuff.
So anything further?
But we are good with their, discharges.
Yeah.
We're managing that fine at Riverside. There's not the backup that there used to be well, Frisbee never seems to, very rarely has a backup, but Wentworth Douglas was backed up, and we're in good shape with them at this point.
Good. Well, we want to keep that relationship not only working, but working well, because it's to both sides' advantage.
Yeah. Well, our highest priority is still an unsafe person at home. But, you know, our second highest priority is to clear the hospitals out.
Right. Very good. So anything further? Hearing nothing, is there a motion to adjourn? Moved by, what is your name again, Commissioner?
I can't remember.
Okay, so moved by Representative Petrie, seconded by everybody. So without objection, we're adjourned.